Guys, Ariel over here at Fineth, where today I am going to make some deviled eggs. So I put almost 24 eggs in my pan, cover them with water, brought them to a boil and timed them for about 10 minutes. That's usually good. So I'm going to pour off most of that hot water. And refill it with some cold water because I want to be able to touch them. So I can peel all the shells off. And if you ever hard-boiled eggs before, they are usually a little easier to peel if the egg is older, like it's not from not an egg that was just laid this morning or yesterday. So if I ever have eggs left in the fridge that are getting older, this is a good thing to do. And you don't have to worry about them being, whether or not they're still good. If an egg is not good anymore, when you put it in water, it will float. Now some of these are up at the top, but that's because there's other eggs underneath them, not because they're actually floating. If an egg floats, it has gone bad, no matter how old or fresh it is, and as long as it sinks in water, it is still good. So that's a quick little tip that you might not have been aware of. And peeling takes a minute, so I will rejoin you guys momentarily. Okay, so now I've got all my eggs peeled. These unfortunately were fairly fresh eggs, and so they don't peel real well. And now I'm going to just take a good sharp little knife and split them all in half. And actually, usually I get a little bit of moisture that just kind of soaks out of them into the bottom of the pan here, and I kind of like to mop that up. You wouldn't have to, but it just makes them get kind of soggy in the fridge later if you let too much of that there. I'm not really even sure if that comes from the egg itself or from the water that it is boiled in. But these are pretty crumbly eggs, as I said. So I'm going to get them all sliced in half. This is something I do most often in the summer because it's a really good warm weather, easy way to grab a good nutritious bite of food quickly, because eggs are very high in good fats, proteins, good cholesterols, and so on. An egg is one of the single most nutritious foods you can eat, actually. Especially if you get a good pasture-raised egg, which I always do my best to buy. It is a little difficult to always find around here because not many people keep chickens, but I do have one friend that has some chickens and ducks, and anytime she has extra eggs, I try to buy them from her, or else buy the best grocery store ones that are available. Just running out of room in my pan here once I split them all in half. But anyway, part of the reason I'm making them right now is one of the things going on the property where I live is haymaking, which is probably going on lots and lots of farms and ranches all across the country at the moment. But that means, if you're not familiar, that you probably have heard of the phrase, you gotta make hay when the sun shines, and the sun is shining, and so grass needs to be cut and put up before the sun goes away again. And that generally means the people on the tractors are busy for very, very long hours and don't have time to do things like stop and eat. So this is a really good way to grab a quick bite that, you know, is just finger food, but has lots of nutrition in it to be able to keep going on your work for the day. So now I'm just kind of carefully popping out the centers of all the eggs into my bowl here, because we're going to mix them up with some other goodies and put them back in. You guys will have to tell me some of your favorite combos for seasonings for this stuff. I'm going to show you my favorite. And it's a little funny, I don't even like eggs actually just by themselves. Never have. But since they're so nutritious, I do try to eat good ones. And I do enjoy them more when they've got some other flavors in them. But just for the record, I'm not planning to, like with most of my food, eat all of this myself. This is going to go toward feeding a lot of other people who are working very, very long hours. So if you do this kind of gently, they'll usually pop out without breaking up the rest of the eggshell, or the white that's been cooked around it too much. But if you get a little crack, don't worry about it. They aren't all going to look perfect, and that is just fine. Doesn't affect the way anything tastes at all. The water pump sound, if you're new here, is just, the sound is my water pump, which I have because I live in a little off-grid tiny house. So, got all those centers out there. I'm just going to take a fork here and kind of crumble them up real quick. Since the eggs have been hard-boiled, they're kind of flaky. Just mush them a tiny bit. They're going to get more mixed here as we add other things. And as you probably know, I don't do much measuring, so this isn't going to be very exact. But the first thing I'm going to put in is some parsley. I actually have fresh parsley at the moment because I've got a bunch growing out there in those reclaimed lockers around my house and with the flowers. So I am going to use that, but at other times of year I've certainly used dried parsley, and that is just fine as well. For herbs in general, a little scissors is about the most amazing thing you can have. So I've just made a bunch of all my tops, and I'm just going to snip kind of as fine as I can. I just think this is much easier to do with the scissors than trying to chop with a knife. Just going to snip little bits around my top of my parsley there until I've got all my fresh bright green flakes in there. Parsley is really good for you. When I was a kid, we had lots of swallowtail caterpillars that would generally lay their eggs. Well, the butterflies would lay their eggs, and then the caterpillars would be on the parsley, and we'd get to watch them hatch into adult butterflies, which was always really exciting. But I have always thought that parsley tasted like butterflies, just because of that, because when parsley's the only thing a caterpillar eats, that's exactly what it smells like. So we've got the greens in there. I like spicy brown mustard, and you could use just a dry mustard too, but I like the little extra moisture to stick my crumbly eggs together. And this bottle's almost empty. I'm going to say that's probably close to 3 tablespoons maybe of mustard. I really like mustard. You could certainly go a little lighter if you wanted. You need some salt. Make sure you use a good unrefined salt so you're getting all the other minerals and none of the additives that make it hard for your body to dissolve. Salt, a little bit of black pepper. I'm not a big pepper fan, so I just do a tiny bit. I usually pour into the lid like that so I make sure I don't accidentally get a whole pint of pepper in there. I'm going to do just a bit of mayo. You can also make your own mayonnaise pretty easily. It's just egg and oil, basically, and a little vinegar, whipped till it's really, really fluffy. Let's see here if this is all going to hold together. The herbs and flavors dissolving into each other and kind of blending there. I want it just enough to stick just moist enough to stick all those egg crumbles together but not get runny, and that looks like it's going to be about perfect. And then this is totally optional for sure, but I really like horseradish, and I think these are very good with a little bit of extra spice, and so I'm probably going to put close to a tablespoon in there. Horseradish is strong. If you don't like horseradish or don't really like it, do less or leave it out entirely. But I've always liked horseradish in here. So I'm going to just mix all that together. I'm going to use the fork to a little bit smash the egg lumps that are in there yet, but I don't mind having a few lumps. It doesn't have to be perfectly creamy. I kind of like the chunks. So, there we go. Just taste it real quick and see if it needs more salt. I think that's perfect. Delicious. And then, just going to take little spoonfuls. It always takes less than I think. And dollop them back into all of their, not actually their shells, but the whites, which now look like an eggshell. And then this is a really pretty and fun and pretty simple way to have a very nutritious, quick snack on hand, because you can just grab one of these with, with your fingers out of the fridge. They'll keep for at least 5 or 6 days. I have no expectation these will last that long, but you could keep them that long. And yeah, it's just a great way to have some good nourishment when you don't want to take the time to stop and cook food, or you don't want to have warm food because it's so hot outside. I do realize that so hot here is like, oh my goodness, it's in the upper 70s and we don't even have humidity. But for here, that is warm. Especially considering it got very close to freezing the other night and actually snowed in the mountains just above my house again. It was a pretty little dusting of fresh snowfall up there, about 2 days into officially, according to the calendar, being summer. And sometimes I get these slopped out a little bit. If you go slower, it's possible to make them more perfect, which is probably what my mother would do, because she makes everything look perfect. I tend to be a little bit more of get it done, and that's, as far as appearance, that's good enough. I want things to function well, but I'm usually too busy to make them perfect, which is no good excuse because she's always busy too. Go. Fill up our extra overflow plate here. So you guys will have to tell me what are some of your favorite additives. I know some people put other herbs in when they do deviled eggs, or other spices, or bacon. If you didn't want to use the mayo, you could do the same thing with just a little bit of yogurt. Obviously, if you're needing to avoid dairy, you wouldn't want to do that, but you could add just a spoonful or two of yogurt would be enough to help the mixture all stick together, so that would be another option. So like I've tried to say before, my main goal with doing cooking videos is to encourage more of y'all to make your own food, because it's fun, it's better for you, it's generally less expensive, and a lot of people I know just didn't grow up cooking and were a little intimidated by it. So whether you're brand new or have been cooking for the last 80 years, hopefully you get inspired to try some more things. Experiment, and like I tell people, if you start with edible ingredients, it's highly unlikely you're going to end up with something you can't eat, even if it doesn't turn out the way you expected. So make substitutions, add different things, try different flavors. I love the filling, much better than the whites actually. So I will probably be licking the bowl here in just a minute when the camera's not rolling. And that's all there is to it. The final thing, if you do want to make it just a little bit prettier, is if you take a little paprika, which to me, at least in small amounts, has virtually no flavor, but it does have a little color, and just do a tiny little sprinkle like that on top. It kind of pretties them up with just another contrasting color, along with the white and the yellow and the fresh green parsley in there, and so on. There we go. All done, other than the time they took to boil on the stove and some time to peel. It's a pretty quick recipe, and now I've got lots of good snacks for quite a few days here. Let's give one a try. delicious. So comment below and tell me what your guys' favorite combinations are, or give these a try and see if you like my combo. Thanks for watching, folks. If you're interested in more info on my off-grid tiny house life, check out some of my other videos here. And if you like what you're seeing, click the little picture of my house to subscribe and then hit the little bell so YouTube actually notifies you every time there's a new video available. See y'all next time.